We're on the Country versus Metal podcast with Mason Lively. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. So good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for taking the time. I know you know, time's very valuable for musicians. I always appreciate when people jump on.
Man, when a musician's like, hey, I've got a thing to do today, that usually means that's like the one thing for the day. But there's a lot riding on that one thing, so you got to make sure you're there on time.
Yeah. Uh
The rest of the day is just kind of like, figuring out what your next few months are going to look like. So
yeah.
it's a weird cycle that we got to be in for sure.
Yeah. So now do you do music full time?
I do. I have a little part-time gig that every once in a while it was my full-time thing. I worked for a property management company out of Austin here, and now I just kind of look online, charge a few hours a week, and that helps pay little extra bills. But it's the majority primarily music, so that's good. That's what I was always going for. So, but I got a wife and kiddo, so yeah, that's expensive. So I had to like, oh, maybe I'm not ready to let go of my other things so far. But yeah, it's easy and little side job that I mostly do from my computer. So
Yeah.
makes it work.
Yeah, and it's nice when you know how much time you put down on that job, you know how much you're getting back and paid,
Yeah,
unlike music.
exactly. Yeah, because you could have a really good weekend and or a really good month, really, and you could have a really crappy month. So you're like, I gotta, I gotta figure something out. Gotta make sure the next month's better.
Yeah. Oh,
Ups
especially
and
like
downs.
yeah, especially like wintertime,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I never understood. Like I guess a lot of people, they're saving money for gifts around Christmas and everything, but man, the music industry just comes like a grinding halt. It's like depressing if you love
Yeah.
live shows.
Yeah, it's weird. Like the big guys will always have their like around Christmas time shows that guaranteed sellouts, certain venues and stuff like that. But the regular like shows constantly getting booked and popping up, that doesn't happen as much from about December 1st till honestly like mid late February, really
Yeah,
comfortably. And you have just, you'd be lucky if you have like three or four shows a month, around those months. But
yeah,
I'm kind of keeping it like that right now, anyways. I'm on like an average like 5, 6 shows a month kind of circuit, like 4 full band, 2 acoustic. That's just kind of an average, but um, I'm kind of digging that. It's a pretty good
yeah,
look, good setup. Mostly Texas. Sometimes we'll go in the outer states, or go to the south a little bit, but yeah, Texas is big enough to continue to tour pretty regularly.
yeah. And with a schedule like that, you can choose quality over quantity, which is always
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's been big for me. I spent from about late 2018 to honestly like 2 years ago just playing like 3, 4 shows a week and for no money. And I'm like, man, that was fun, gained a lot of fans and sold some merch here and there, but damn, I'm coming home with nothing. I better be a little smarter about how I book and how, I guess worth it is, and furthering the name and the career and everything like that.
Yeah. Now, when I was googling, it said you're from Inez. Is that?
Inez, yeah,
God,
yeah. It's a little you're close. I mean, trust me, nobody knows where that's at. So yeah, I've heard all the pronunciations. But yeah, it's a little town outside of Victoria, Texas, where I was born and um, mostly raised. But I mean, I was raised in Inez, but it's like 20 minutes from Victoria, and that's even a small town too, but it's bigger. That was like our big city, and about an hour and a half uh, east of you was Houston. An hour and a half west was Corpus Christi. So, yep, Gulf Coast kid.
yeah. So it's very very small town.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We got a Dollar General in Inez just recently, so that's pretty cool. That's big time.
Next step, the railroad.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, like, what do people get wrong about small towns? Do you think?
Well, I would say that I would say a cliche is like all the people are very like I guess not well versed in just the world, what's going on, or everything like that. There are certainly people like that there, but there are a lot more, people of pretty intelligent, smart people in those towns that just like to live there because that's the way of life. That's where they
Yeah,
were. That's where they grew up, or a lot of them, my dad moved all over growing up, and he stayed there because he just wanted to raise his kids there. So, but he lived in Austin and DFW area, little towns around West Texas growing up. So mostly small towns still, but yeah, it's just kind of landed there around the time we graduated high school, starting to go to college. He's like, I like it here, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those towns. It's nice down there. If you like fishing and you like working at the plant, I guess, or being a farmer or rancher, that's a pretty good spot to be.
Yeah, yeah. It's we have like some just like ghost towns of old like one town, one plant kind of cities, and like where the company just builds a neighborhood right by the place.
Yeah,
And man, it's like like they have like just say like they have like the company store, and it's like this whole the community like job life, even taking it home. It's so like single minded. It just to live like that.
yeah, yeah, it is. And I obviously was like, I'm gonna be a big time famous musician, so I I moved out of there, and I was gonna move to Austin, because a lot of my dad's family was around there, and I had gotten pretty. He was big, like Robert Earl Keen and Jerry Jeff Walker and all those like the OG Willie, all the OG Texas guys from the '70s. He was real big into '70s and '80s, and so that's where I kind of got the love for this Texas music thing and understood what that was, and got to see, luckily growing up in Texas, when they'd come through around that area, you get to see some of these guys live, growing up. And even when we'd go visit his family around Austin, the Broken Spoke, or the venues around Dripping Springs, like Mercer Street Dance Hall or Copeland Dance Hall, just east of Boston, all these cool venues, Nutty Brown, when that was still a thing, seeing shows at those places. It's like, dang, this is like, there's a whole thing here in Austin. This is kind of you know, where it started, and this is where it continues to really kind of happen. At least it's the epicenter of it, as far as Texas music goes. So, one can argue Fort Worth is kind of that too, but there's different pockets of it for sure. So, but I was broke and I couldn't live in Austin because it's expensive to live in Austin. So I moved to San Marcos, and that's about 30 minutes south of Austin, where Texas State University is, and took some classes there and formed a band, and was finishing up writing my first record around that time. And that's kind of where it all snowballed from there. Got a band together and started hitting the road.
Now, was there a certain show or a certain moment that music, instead of just being in the background of your life, became to the forefront where you're like, this is what I want to do?
I had a couple, I guess a couple of those. I guess the very first would be sitting in class when I was in high school. I was probably like maybe eighth grade or freshman. Um, and I was probably about eighth grade, because this is when it was around the time I was picking up a guitar. Uh, I was in class, and I was sitting behind this pretty girl in class, and this teacher, it happened to be probably one of those days, the end of the school year, when you're not doing much. Teachers playing the radio in the class, or just kind of killing time, and they were playing Kicks 108, which is the Victoria radio station, shout out. And they were playing George Strait, because they played George Strait like 5 times an hour at this radio station, like most good country music stations in Texas do. And She'll Leave You with a Smile by George Strait was on. And I knew the song, of course. So I was kind of singing along to it under my breath, as we were kind of sitting there. And this girl turns around behind me and goes, "You got a pretty good voice." I was like, and that's all you need is, as a kid that age, you get a girl to tell you have a nice voice. You're like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. So luckily, I was already kind of picking up a guitar and learning chords and stuff like that, and honed in on the voice a little more. Started writing songs not too long after that, and by the time I moved and wanted to really do the thing and start a band around like 1920, um, I had a pretty good collection of songs that I kind of litmus test through acoustic shows back home and around there, and I got a good education, I guess, of like what good songwriting was. I had a lot of great songwriting mentors, even if they weren't, I didn't know them personally, but I listened to those guys like Robert Earl and Hayes Carl, and Turnpike Troubadours, and those guys were, I mean, that's great songwriting. So I wanted to and I loved like I loved a lot of the radio stuff too, on country radio that was maybe a little older. Um, and I just kind of wanted to garner all those, you know, all those influences and kind of form a sound. I also loved blues and rock and Stevie Ray and Southern rock and stuff like that. So a little bit of everything kind of in the melting pot that became my sound sort of by accident, which is based on the songs that I was writing. And that whole first album of mine, Stronger Ties, those songs are as old as, from 16-year-old me to 20-year-old me right before making that record. And I had no idea what I was doing making that record. Just made it up here in Austin, studio called the Zone Studios. And once I was done with it, we started reaching out to certain people in the business. And this one guy named Trey Newman was actually Park McCollum's first manager, and he had some ties to Victoria. I think his parents lived there, so knew like a friend of a friend. And we sent it to him, and he's like, "This is pretty good." And that was kind of the first guy that took a chance on me and started booking shows with me. And then we snowballed into getting represented on William Morris, which is a little bit bigger booking agency. Started opening up for guys like Parker and Randy Rogers, and doing our own stuff. Started headlining venues like Cheatham Street and San Marcos and getting people in there actually. So it's just kind of been a slow grind of building fans and putting music out ever since.
Nice. Now, when you say like when you're listening to music and you're like studying the songwriting, are you looking for like a formula or a method?
Yeah, I think I was at first, and then I kind of realized there really is none. Just like when it's good and when it's not, and I'm kind of one of those songwriters. It's like it's either something on the guitar, like a cool little melody that I will sing something to or hum something to, and be like, oh, that could be something, or it really is like a hook line or something that words kind of strung together that I think sound cool, and I'm like, oh, if it hits me right, a lot of times I feel like I have an idea that's cool, and it just falls flat when I start putting it on paper. But a lot of times it can go well, and I love co-writing too. So I've gotten to write with a lot of great songwriters like Adam Hood and Josh Greider and Wade Bowen and Ben Danaher was another guy I love writing with. And uh, obviously those guys will teach you how to find the magic in these ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I've actually had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of them, and yeah, they're awesome.
yeah,
It's cool to pick their mind and really,
definitely.
yeah, and they act like it's no big deal. It's no thing. I just get a pen and I just write songs. Like, yeah, but we
Yeah.
we need to
And
know
that's,
the secret.
yeah, what's the process? And that's the thing. That's why you can never get a straight answer to that question because there really is none. It's like, it's just kind of you either have it or you don't. And that even sounds too arrogant because we feel lucky when something really good comes to you when you're trying to do it. I think it's just doing it a lot and staying persistent like everything else, um and really listening to music and figuring out what works. Not only what works like on a commercial level, but just what works for you. Like I always when I'm writing a song, I'm always like, this is something that I feel like I would want to listen to. Whether it
Yeah,
sounds like something that is big on, in the zeitgeist of things right now, or something that sounded like it would have been done, decades ago. It's maybe not so cool, or something that's more songwritery, or it just if it's something that really hits you, it's gonna give you that extra jolt of inspiration that's gonna continue what will hopefully be a great song by the time you're done with it.
yeah, and I definitely appreciate like clever songs. Like your one song, I always mess up track titles, but "You Make Me Hate This Town," where it's just like you just go through all the
Oh,
things in
angry,
town.
angry at this town, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, dude, like, I everybody's done that,
Yeah,
when and you're just like, man, everything reminds you something. It's like you just, I could really relate to that. I was like, man, that's a clever idea, but it hits home. I really like that.
thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just another one of those ideas. I wrote that one with Carlton Anderson, who's another great artist, and yeah, just one of those things like, here's an idea. Let's see if we can come up with something cool with it.
Yeah, it's like back to the small town thing. I was telling my buddy, I was like, man, we need to write a song about like there's no hate like small town hate. And he's like, what? He's like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, everybody talks about, everybody's family here and we're all kin and we're all. I'm like, but God forbid, you're dating a pretty cheerleader and you dump her. Man, you're going to want to move out.
That
You,
sucks. Yeah.
you do anything that's out of the norm or something. Cause like I've been there. Cause he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Dude, I was at court and the judge told me to move." He said, "Move." He's like, "I advise you move out of this town." I was like,
Just leave, man.
"Yeah." I
It's
was
the
like,
best
"But
way to do it.
I live here." And they're like, "Yeah, well, guess what? You shouldn't." But
Sometimes that's the answer, man. Yeah. Um, I think that's like, because that's what's so funny about like country artists specifically is a lot of them do come from, the majority of them come from towns that like, yes, I will 100% understand and relate to the songs that very much apple pie the idea of small towns, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like that when I talk about where I'm from. Like, I can, dunk on it and talk mess about it, but if you do, I have a problem with it, kind of. So I get the weird relationship that a lot of, mostly artists who have all had to move out of that town to get to do this specifically, write songs about how much they love and hate it at the same time.
yeah, yeah, and it's weird. Like a lot of people I talk to that come from like the small towns that are doing fantastic, making great music, and like doing really big shows with big names. And you would think when they come home to be like a parade,
Yeah,
and it's like nothing. I'm
that
like,
doesn't
man,
happen. Yeah,
yeah, it's so weird when somebody from a small area like that, you figured, like all the 80s movies where they're like, yeah, like
yeah.
there's no pep rallies. It's like you come home and it's just like, I'm like, oh, really?
They're
I'm,
like, cool, man.
I'm putting this town on the map. Like, where's the mayor? I should get a key. Where's the key to the city?
Where's the key to the city at, man? It's just me and Stone Cold Steve Austin, dude. Those are the only two that have left, and you can
Oh,
find on Wikipedia. It's no big deal.
so he's from where you're at.
He is, yes, yeah,
Look at that.
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, like yeah, I didn't even know he was Texan, but then I didn't
I
really.
dated or not, I dated. I had a teacher in high school that dated him when she was in high school, and you better believe that that was like one of the things that she talked about most of the time.
Yeah, one of those like how do you know she dated Steve Austin? Just wait 5 minutes, she'll tell you, kind of
Yeah,
deal.
she'll tell you. Yeah.
Just no matter what you're talking about, she's gonna
The
work it in.
picture, yeah, the picture will be brought up on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so that was her Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. But she stayed there. Yeah, she's in the town. But yeah, it's interesting for sure, the relationship that artists have with where they're from and everything like that. And it feels you, it gives you, even if you don't even always acknowledge it, it gives you a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's wild. So like, it's funny when I was listening to your music today, and I was getting like a real big John Mayer feel,
Dude,
and
that's
then
so funny.
and then
Dude,
I just right before I got on, I just typed in Gravity because I was like, man, I'm gonna listen to John Mayer. You have a cover of that.
I do. Yeah, I did a cover of that pretty early on, like right after the first record. I wish I could go back and redo it because it wasn't really the best. I don't like the recording personally, but um, I love John Mayer's music. His music came like to me when I was probably like, I'd always known like the big radio hits, like "Waiting on the World to Change" and stuff like that, "Bodies of Wonderland" and stuff. But it was when I like really dug into like Continuum with Gravity, or like "I'm Gonna Find Another You," "Dream with a Broken Heart." I was like, this guy's like guitar great playing, of course, like he's a great guitar player, but and I'd already been a Stevie Ray fan, so that was an easy, you know, easy invite into his guitar playing. But I always, which I don't think it's talked about enough, is his songwriting is phenomenal. So I'm like, this is really good. So I became
Yeah,
a big fan of his around that time, and definitely still am. Big inspiration for sure.
yeah. Even if you've never heard him, like even like his track titles, like "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room," like just
Yeah,
even the song titles have you thinking of like, man, that's
that's
y-
good.
y- yeah, and it puts moving pictures in your head of what does that mean, whatnot, and like he's definitely a lot of people they only know him from like your body is a wonderland, and they have no
Yeah.
idea just how. I think he's a really good guitar player, and I see so many people on TikTok being like, you know who's overrated? John Mayer, and I'm like, what? Like,
No, he's a great guitar player. And yeah, people should talk more about what a good songwriter he is though. You dig into like Born and Raised or like Search for Everything, the albums that aren't as well known, and you like listen to the lyrics. They're all written by every song. He's just the sole writer too, which is crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, great songwriter for sure.
yeah, I just love it. He's got soul, and it's not as fast. It's not as not like Steve. You know what I mean? Like aggressive, like Steve Ray Vaughan. He
Yeah,
came out and like if you were wearing a hat, it was gone. You know,
yeah,
he just blew the roof off the place. But my God, dude, Steve Ray Vaughan is one of my favorite. And I remember the first. If I could go back to the first time I listened to him, man, I would probably like hit myself because
I
I remember
wish I
listening.
could go back, yeah, to that first moment because, like, I was just watched a TikTok the other day. Like, you get reminded of how good he is. Like the intro and like first 2 minutes of his Voodoo Child performance, the first Austin City Limits performance he did. Like, God, you just forget. Like, what a yeah, aggressive is such a great way to describe him, but like also just entertaining, like
Yeah,
so good, so like raw, and people will, of course, the guitar snobs will be like, well, he's not as like technical, like dude, he doesn't need to. It's badass. It's just everything he does about his guitar, everything about his guitar playing style is just pure badass. Like holy hell, like this is so cool, you know. And
yeah.
really, at the end of the day, that's what people care about.
Yeah, I just remember the first time I listened to him, I'm like, man, this guy's really good. Then you watch him, and it just blows your mind. Like when he puts the guitar behind his back, and it's
Yeah,
still playing just as fast and with the same precision, and you're just like, dude, you're just watching. So like, I couldn't imagine like if his brother never played guitar. You know, like
oh
his older brother used to like beat him up when he found him with
yeah.
his guitar, which is crazy. Like, what if his brother didn't play guitar? Like, would he have found that passion in anything else, or was he just born to play that
Yeah,
strat?
yeah, it's insane, dude. I think that I'll take, since I always lean like more towards loving music that's a little more soulful or a little more on the blues side. I'll take a guitar player like him, and I love Eddie Van Halen, and I think he's a great guitar player. But I'll take that style. Like I'll take Stevie Ray over Eddie Van Halen any day. I'd much rather listen to like the Stevie Rays and the you know the Albert Kings and just those guys, BB Kings that are just Stevie. I mean Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, those guys that are just masters of it, that
Yeah,
really lean into the soul and blues aspect of it, you know?
yeah. It's amazing what they can do with just two notes, with just their
Yeah.
vibrato and their bends, and it's crazy. Like growing older, I grew more appreciative of like BB King because you know growing up, Eddie Van Halen. Let's tap. Let's play eight
Oh, yeah.
billion notes a second, and I was obsessed with like speed and. The 80s was like if you were not a technical guitar player, you didn't have a band. You know, you
Yeah.
needed a sweep pick and hammer on, hammer off, and do all kinds. They
You
play
play
the
like Zach
fastest.
Wild.
Yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my!
dude.
The first time I heard Perry Mason, because it's funny, is like back in the day, Columbia House, they'd send you like 30 CDs for a penny, but
Yeah.
you had to buy like the CD they sent you every month, which no one ever did. That's why they're not around. But like they sent Osmosis, and I was like, oh, Ozzy Osbourne. You know, like grew up. My dad loved Black Sabbath, and I liked Ozzy's old Bark at the Moon and all that. And I remember putting that on and just hearing it sounded like Angry Bees. It was the first time I ever heard like a just that the fuzz to like where he destroys at the point of almost a destructive guitar sound that would sound you wouldn't want to listen to it if it was by itself, but it just worked. And
Yeah.
that, oh man, I was like, dude, this is crazy. It sounded so different because for a while, everybody had their own sound, but no one had a sound like that. And that's what I miss about like old music. Like, of course, like if you can play, you can sound like Stevie, but you can't play like him. But like
Yeah.
a lot of the music, that's why I started. It's funny. It's like when I tell people like I like really pigeonholed myself because like I found what I liked, and man, every time I turn on the radio with like it's everything sounded the same. Every guitar band, it was just weird. Even like I love the like I love Avenged Sevenfold, but like if you have two guitar players, why do they sound the same? You
Yeah.
know, like I love like because your tone is it's your personality. Like
Yeah.
and it's something that you craft. Like when you're playing your guitar, man, that's the first thing I'm listening to is like your sound, especially like you can have the rhythm that you know your mid range. You keep the glue together, and that's your rhythm. But your solo tone when you step on your solo, that's you. That's
Yeah.
you know it's just weird. Like I wouldn't want to sound like anybody else in the band. Like, oh, what are you using? Oh, I'm using this. Well, I'm not using that. You know, it's like you wouldn't go to the bar with your buddy who showed up with the same shirt. You'd go
Yeah.
change. You know, unless it
It's
was like a band shirt. You know, and you show up, you're wearing the same striped polo. Like, nah,
nah, dude, I'm gonna go home.
yeah, you got a white T-shirt under there because that's what you're wearing. But yeah, it's now like when like you, from your first album on, have you always has that been a struggle to find like your sound, or was that just
Yeah,
something that just came?
absolutely. I notice it. I don't know if it's as noticeable to the outside listener, but I definitely do. And part of it, like where I give myself grace, is like my first record was I was 20 years old. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was good, but I don't. You still don't know. So like, I knew I could play guitar good enough to like come up with some cool chords and some cool riffs every now and then. Uh, I'm still primarily an acoustic player, anyways, because I just love being the songwriter guy. And I had a decent enough voice to pass, and I was a decent enough songwriter. But each time, it's like each record or project or single I put out, I hear myself getting a little bit better, but I also hear myself like divoting a little bit from whatever sound was before. And I used to think that was a bad thing, and like I didn't mean to do that. It was just like, oh man, like I just kind of found a lane that I think is cooler. That I think that there none of them are like drastic, but at the same time, I think a lot of that's just growing into this and finding your sound more. And I feel like I have a better hold on it now, which is like the way to find that is really just figure out when to say no to everything from when you're in the middle of a song that you're writing. Sometimes I'll just be like, this isn't me. I'm not even going to finish this. To the production side of things, you got more cooks in the kitchen. You got people from the band to the producer trying to pull everything in different directions, and where maybe I was a little more lenient in those kind of decisions. Now I know exactly, I guess, where the lines are without being afraid to push the envelope and go outside of the box, but also just really just knowing that that's not me. Like we can try that and that, but that's not me. I don't even want to kind of go respectfully go into that angle of things basically. And I think that's what really finding your sound is, unless you are absolutely doing the same thing over and over again, which some artists get away with doing that, and are very big at doing that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, dude. What I love about your music is, man, you're not scared of the riff. You know what I mean? A lot of
Yeah,
people just, it's all chords, and then the guy, he's playing E major over it, being in the box and everything. But now you're not scared to have like a riff driven song, and dude, I love it because who doesn't like a creative, cool arrangement of notes? You know?
yeah, I love it. And none of them are crazy or like they're just kind of mostly simple. But I find like Senseless is one that I started on the riff. I like I was like, that's cool. I'm gonna like write a song off that. Burn the Ground was one like that. Like that minor thing of just like that riff I came up with, and I'm like, I'm gonna write a song off of that. Heavy Toll is one, just like that's a cool riff. I'm gonna base the whole thing around that. So I sometimes that's where it is. I'll come up with something in the chords, within the chords, and an arrangement of the notes, and I'm like, again, you just play around with stuff until it hits you. Be like, I could do something with that. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my process with those things.
yeah, dude. Heavy Toll. I just, I I was just listening to it. That riff is awesome.
Thanks,
It's
man.
it's
Yeah.
like heavy without being heavy. But if you liked oh my god, doom 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 doom, like my god, it's an Ozzy song. I'm terrible with song, but it has that. It's yeah, it's heavy,
It's
and
got a
man,
little bit of, yeah, it's my most like the riff when I came up with it, it's got a little bit of like Southern Gothic kind of vibe to it, enough to make you think it might be an Ozzy riff or a Allman Brothers riff. You know, you just kind of Leonard Skinner little vibe to it, but it could also be like a David Allan Coe thing. You know, it's just kind of one of those things I came up with, and I was like, hey, you know, don't be afraid of that. You know.
yeah. Now, did you grow up listening to heavy music?
Yeah, I did. Every once in a while, I would kind of dip my toe in listening to guys like that. Um, Dude, I grew up. My dad, as much as he liked that, you know, the '70s Texas stuff and early Texas country, like the Pat Greens and all that stuff. Um, you know, my dad loved like Rage Against the Machine and you know, shoot, who else? He loved, you know, Black Sabbath, and he loved the early like the early late '90s, like before post grunge. Like I kind of consider like Nickelback and all that kind of post grunge, but like late grunge, like Soundgarden and stuff like that, Alice in Chains. You know, so I grew up on a little bit of all that stuff too when it comes to rock. Nothing too like. I guess nothing too. I mean, Metallica. You know, your mainstream metal. I guess is
Yeah,
like where I would really get into for sure.
yeah. Like because you know, not a lot of country has like riffs like your
Yeah.
music does. So it's definitely interesting to hear.
And as much as I never wanted to like make a record or a song that sounds like that, I'm for sure not afraid of like if I come up with a riff like that, like how we did with Heavy Toll, which I'm still like very proud of how we arranged that song. Like, yeah, it gets a little rocking, it gets a little heavy, but you know, it still has that riff is primarily we recorded like three acoustics to do that thing. It's not like it's this screaming crazy like electric riff, you know, but it's
Yeah,
still got the roots aspect of it, but it drives for sure. And when the whole band comes in, it's the way the song was arranged too. It's like it makes it feel heavier for sure.
oh yeah, yeah. Like it's heavy and aggressive, but also at the same time very polite. Yeah, it's
I'm cool with that. That can be my I'll put that on a t-shirt.
yeah, I love it. It's because a lot of bands like Rage Against the Machine, he didn't use a lot of distortion. That's all
Yeah.
like chimey, rounded, you know, single coil with that quack, and yeah, there is some. It, it is interesting to listen to like a heavy band that has clarity because it's cool because it's hard to
Yeah.
play like that, especially you know a lot of those metal guys. You know they have so much distortion. They can make so many mistakes, and you would never know. You know, is it?
Yeah. My
So
guys hate when I arrange a set list because it shows how like wide my how much I love both sides of the same, you know, or both sides of the spectrum. Is like I'll put Heavy Toll and then I'll put Wayside, which is another one of my like top songs, but very subdued, very slow, very songwriter. He builds a little at the end, which is cool, but I'll put those like back to back, and they just my band's like thrown off either way because they're like either jolted from Heavy Toll and like want to keep that riff going. Like, all right, now we're gonna slow down. We're gonna like really just kind of basically just be an ambient noise, you know. But I like that stuff too. So it's just you
yeah.
know just kind of
Now,
what makes them best, I guess.
do you have a go-to song that if you know if you feel like you're being background music, maybe the crowd doesn't know who you are? Is there like a Mason Lively song that you know you're gonna get the backs to turn around? Do you have like an ace in the hole?
Yeah, I think both of those that I mentioned, Wayside and Heavy Toll, are two that really do it in those scenarios. Love Ain't Done a Damn Thing because somehow like that's like a I am in no way, shape, or form do I have hits, but that one always feels like my hit because somehow I don't know. Like I know did some stuff on like TikTok or whatever, people making videos on it, but it's like everyone in the room, at least one person, or at least everyone in the room has heard that song once, and they'll come up to me after a show and tell me, even if they have no idea who I am and I'm opening for somebody or whatever, you know, they'll be like, "I have heard that song, and yeah, I like it." It's like, "Oh, cool, sweet."
Now, I know after a show, people have to come up to you and say, "Why aren't you huge?" What do you? Because I know like the pretty much everybody I've talked to, and you listen to music, and it's like, dude, this should be everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And then like, do you ever get like frustrated, you know, or like what's your answer if someone comes up and asks you that?
I'm just like, dude, don't even look at me. Look at how many other go down a rabbit hole of so many other dudes that should be huge. Like there's the more you get into this, and especially in this scene, the more you realize how many super talented guys there are,
Yeah,
guys and girls, that aren't huge, you know. And I ask myself that for some of these other folks, and when I do myself, I'm like, damn, like this is a tough business to be in. Only the very few hit a certain level to where they're selling out big rooms everywhere. You know, um, I it used to frustrate me more, but now I'm kind of like the worst thing you could do is stop. So why would you let that discourage you? Keep going, basically, keep playing and keep meeting people, the right people, and surround yourself with those folks and keep writing. You know,
yeah,
that's one of the most important ones. And keep playing shows, writing and playing shows. You could do the, you could just make a million TikToks a day and hope that one of those hits. And that seems to be the route that people are going. But at the end of the day, man, you gotta like know what you're doing when you're writing a song, know what you're doing when you're on a stage. Those things will truly, I think, never go away.
yeah, yeah. And man, people respect you more if you cut your teeth on the scene, and you know how to set up a stage. You know, if there's no sound guy, you know how to hook up a mixer. Like
Yeah.
there's skills because you might be opening up for somebody, and they're like, "Hey, man, do you know how to run a soundboard?" Y- y-
Yeah.
If you go, yeah, and they have value in other things, and are like, "Hey, you know how to use a camera?" There's just so much stuff like you can do in music, but yeah, it's a cutthroat industry. I remember seeing my favorite band, and they were local. They were great, man. They were out. They were signed. They had a major movie. They had a song in like a Need for Speed video game, and they were asking money so they could go get a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jelly so they could eat to their next show. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, and that's when I learned like yeah, you get a record contract, you get that record deal, and they give you that money. That's a loan. You got to pay that back.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys that are on the labels, where I always thought maybe that's the answer. Maybe I just keep pounding the pavement until Columbia or Sony or whatever like shows interest. But I meet guys and gals on the scene that aren't in much better stages of their career that have been on a label for years. So that's not the answer. It's just
Yeah,
showing up and continuing to improve your craft. I think whether you're signed or not. Uh, yeah, you have that money up front right away, but you do have to pay it back in one way or another. And when you are independent, what sucks about it is it's a lot of overhead. So um, a lot of those things that those bigger paying shows or whatever, those opportunities, you land a song in a show or whatever, you get paid a couple grand. That all goes back in the business, man. That puts tires on the van, and
yeah,
that hires the camera guy that makes your reels and content that you gotta then put out when you're putting out new music or studio time, So it's always kind of like a never ending cycle of like put it back in.
yeah. What's been the greatest addition that you've made that's paid for itself with long
Oh, I mean,
that thinking?
I don't know. I've never taken out a loan. I've always like I've saved money at the beginning, and then I got to where I got some money from my dad that I paid back, and which was basically just to pay for half of the van that I bought so that we could hit the road and start playing and stuff. Um, so I can't really like attest to that, but I think just continuing to like I try, if there's anywhere in this whole thing that I know that I've gotten better at, it's two things. It's like networking, meeting the right people that are in the business and in the music scene, I guess the industry type, and also just purposely getting better at every aspect of the creative process, whether that's being a better singer, songwriter, finding a better studio. Uh, even that didn't even mean like the most expensive studio. Like, just means the one that you're really vibing with and that you think are going to bring the best sounds out of you and what you do, and that you like the engineers or whatever, you know. And just getting the best product out there. And you know, so far it's the best that I can do. I'm not saying in any way that it's, you know, it's a great, like, I think I'm all right, but it's the best I can do what I put out. So, and then putting on a great show. Like, I've literally, I feel like I've gotten I guess I've made as much progress as I have so far because I think I've always picked the best guys to play in my band with me, and we've always tried our hardest to put on a really good show, whether we're playing for 20 people or 2,000 people, because we've done both, and we try to really like sound good no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if somebody, is somebody that's a fan and they say, describe Mason Lively's music, what would you want them to say? Like, do you have like a,
I've heard a couple different things. One time, someone said your music it's like sad and loud, which I thought was really cool. Which I really kind of wanted to put on a T-shirt, but not all my songs are sad. Uh, it's funny because it's kind of like what you said, like jokingly, like aggressive but polite. Like I've heard those two, you know, the what people would consider the opposite of whatever word they're saying, put together a lot. Like I've heard like gritty but smooth. Like I've heard, um, you know, dark but light. So I don't know. I mean, people will compare me to certain artists that I'm like, that was nowhere on my radar. Like I don't even, but that's cool that I sound like that guy, you know? Um, People will call me Americana, people will call me country. I like to think I'm kind of in between the two, like right where I guess the line is that separates whatever that is. I'm hovering over there. Um, but I don't know. How would you describe it?
yeah, yeah, I don't know. But like, that's, man, I had an interesting, talking to Shelby Stone and Colby Acuff about when people say, what is your genre? And Shelby said, I'll say country if they know what Texas country is.
Yeah.
And Colby Acuff was talking about like that you need a place to live because he said they made Americana up to get rid of people like that.
Yeah.
That people that actually are, it's weird, that are playing country music,
Yeah.
like just not the radio, the buzzword, the formula.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. It's because like before I knew anything about Texas country and what you're doing, that was like a curse word, If you were like, hey, I'm gonna put some
Country.
country on, I'd be like, no, I would turn the radio off.
I know, which sucks because like people don't give country the same, I guess they don't look at it like people know rock to be, you know, because I think because rock's had more iterations of its genre popular, like on top 40 radio, you know, when someone says, "Oh, we play rock," you're automatically like, "What kind?
Yeah.
Is it Nickelback? Is it Slayer? Is it, uh, you know, 3 Days Grace? Is it Three Doors Down? Like, is it Stevie Ray Vaughan? Like, it's considered rock. It's blues. It's just blues, with a little distortion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it Oasis, which is basically just acoustic? You know, like, well, what kind of rock? And country is the same. Like, people automatically think, oh, country is what's played on the radio. That's its own thing. Like, even if all that sounds a little different from each other, like if you automatically think, "Oh, I don't listen to country because I hear what's on the radio," like, dude, you're missing out on so many more different little pockets of what country is because you're gonna hear something along the way, whether it's like something that it's a little leans a little more bluegrass or leans a little more blues or southern rock or something that leans a little more folk singer songwriter, Americana country, just your straight up '90s honky tonk country. Bakersfield, Texas, Deep South, Oklahoma, Kentucky. There's so many different variations. Alt country, like the Luceros and American Aquariums and old 97s. Like there's so many different versions of it that you gotta like. And I think we're finally as big as like some of these guys are getting. I hope that that's finally starting to like come to light because now people are finding their influences and be like, this has been here the whole time.
Yeah.
People are going back into the '60s and late Nashville sound era, which was like also very diverse. The outlaw country scene was very diverse. Every iteration of country music since it's began has had all these very different sounds from each other. They just for some reason they just the popular stuff, the top 40 radio popular stuff was never didn't cover that spectrum of subgenres as I guess as well as rock did. Whether that was on purpose or that was just because that's how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. Like I've only been doing this for like maybe 3, 4 years, and it all kind of like started when I had to play guitar for somebody that was like that. I mean, he went on tour with like Morgan Wallen and Jerry Roy. Like he was on the up and up, and he pulled up, and I'm in the parking lot listening to some songs. He's like, "Man, I appreciate that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's because it's the first time I've heard it." And he's like, "What?" Now I'm like, "Dude, I until today, I did not know who George Jones was. I didn't know. I remember because they don't have the names on the set list. I just remember going Troubadour, and I just you type in Troubadour, who sings Troubadour, and there's a lot, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
George Strait," and I'd heard Wailing Jennings' name before, but I never heard him.
yeah,
And it was wild. And then they like sit down and like you listen to all the old guys. I'm like, man, this stuff's good. And you find some voices you like, you find some sounds, and they were all so different. And I love that about him. And then like you go like, how did this spawn the stuff that I had heard on the
yeah.
radio? And it because like man, that was it. I no offense, Christian music. If you would say that, I'm like, no, I just don't like songs about the one same thing. Like it's
Yeah.
if Metallica sang the same song, the same thing, I just want to get into it. But yeah, when you said country, I just was, friends in low places, and achy breaky heart, and now like it's like they're using 808s and just that, man, and it's
Yeah.
all the same song, and then starting the channel and finding out like, dude, like there's a wall, and you have to get past that wall. And once you just get an invitation, and you just you know you
That's
just
what it feels like almost. And that invitation can be like the buddy of yours that does know his stuff. That's like, dude, I'm not talking about, Morgan Wallen. I'm talking about like this, that, whatever the person likes. Like I get if you like some of that thing on Morgan Wallen or whatever, it's just like I think like country radio has always thought that the average country listener honestly is just like kind of like the base that we should just pander to and give spoon feed the same stuff over and over again. And a lot of it being good on country radio, especially in the '90s and '80s and stuff like that. Yes, but this whole time there have been a whole lot of other different guys doing really cool stuff,
yeah
subgenres of country music. Yeah, but it's interesting because like yeah, we don't think of when someone says they play rock, you automatically go what kind, and nobody
yeah
does that in country. Like, well, don't assume I sound like who you're thinking about right now. Don't assume I play a full set of yeah, achy breaky heart because I don't, dude.
yeah
And there are a lot
it,
of guys who are incredible that don't. Yeah.
yeah it's like the first time I heard Pecos and the Rooftops, I was like, this is country. I said, these guys are playing hard, and
Yeah.
the song matter, like as any dude can relate to this damn song. And I'm like, dude, this is heavy. Great songwriting, and it retained all the heaviness that I loved. Like different guitar sounds. It didn't have like, here's a little gap in this. Let's just put some steel and just the
Yeah.
stuff. it doesn't fit. And I love how people approach it like a band, like they're making a song, like, you know, like no filler, no, just because people are expecting this. And that's what, once you get in there and you get into American Aquarium and you get into all that, and because I always say, I never liked pedal steel, and I just went to first American Aquarium. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
I felt dumb.
that dude's killer, dude.
I never heard it played like that, like musical. He was an instrument, because normally I always said it sounded like Cats on Fire. It just too much reverb, and it's just like, how can I not hear the cymbals? I should. It's just, man, and yeah, he just. I was like, it takes so much to take my eyes off a guitar player, and I stared at that dude's hands
Yeah, it's
all night.
nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
every time I've seen them, I've done the same thing. Like that dude is killer.
yeah, oh, and oh, this is like, I'm like, I repeat this all the time, but dude, BJ, he
So good.
is, he becomes a demigod. He just, dude, his eyeballs light up, and it's just, it never. I don't care who's calling me. I am not picking up my phone. I am not. I, this is my time with him.
Yeah,
It's man. I thought like I thought the Texas heat would slow him down. Nope. He just comes out there, and man, for the 90 minutes, it's just 110%. Every
yeah,
time I've seen him, it don't matter how small the stage, how big, he is just 100%. And yeah, that was my first introduction into the scene. And, you know, and going from like, there's so many good artists, and it's great. It's awesome, and that's why I love doing these, because like, man, if people don't know your music, they need to hear it, because it's just as good. And I love it. Like your last album, man, it's like from your first album to your last, the last one you put out, man, it's got that soulful vibe. And
thanks, man.
man, it's funny, like, dude, that Heavy Toll, it made me, when I know like I love a song is when I hear it and I'm angry I'm not around a guitar. Like I wanted to pick it up, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna overplay it.
Just drop D.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, oh yeah. It's all boom. I'm like, oh yeah, that, you know, you can't take that out of me, because if I hear that, I'm just like, oh yeah, that just pulls me into that direction. Because man, like all those blues songs and everything, when you know, when you know they're playing in D, you're gonna hear a badass song.
yeah.
It's one of my,
It's an underrated key for sure.
yeah, yeah, like you know, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, man, where
Oh, killer. Yeah,
he destroys when he plays. It's so cool. And like you said, not a lot of people playing dude, but man, you can tell, you know, as soon as you see him slide up to that 10th fret, you're like,
yeah,
we're gonna have some fun. Because it's kind of like
yeah,
right in the middle, where you can just up and down, up and down. Because even something like, I'm not a fretboard wizard, but I can map that out pretty well. Because when I'm playing an E, I'm like, where are the top notes? Oh, they're
yeah.
open, dummy.
You got nowhere to go. Yeah, you're like, oh wait, shouldn't I be doing more here? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Whole half, whole half. Yeah, but man, like, yeah, we gotta. I know you said you want to do an hour. Is there anything you wanted to talk about, or like, you have anything coming up?
yeah, dude. Got some shows coming up. If you're in Austin area, we're playing at ACL Live, the 310 room, which is the smaller room outside of it. Super cool club. It's on July 26th. We're doing like my birthday bash show, I guess then. Um, so that'll be fun. Full band. Got a new song coming out around that time, so stay tuned on that. That'll be pretty sweet. A song we put out a couple months ago, Texas song. Go check that out. Wrote that song about Texas, and yeah, just catch us on the road, and yeah, see you in your town.
Yeah.
I
Now,
appreciate you having me, dude.
yeah, hell yeah. Now,
Fun,
for your birthday show, what do you want people to bring you?
man. Just buy a ticket. That's all I care about. I
Yeah.
mean, you surprise me. I don't know if I should say that, but throw something up on stage. You'll get
Yeah.
kicked out if it's something a little too. Who knows? I don't know. I don't even. We've seen it all, you know.
Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, man, I know you said you wanted to do an hour, so I don't want to keep you over. But dude, it was really cool talking to you.
Yeah, it was good talking to you too. It was fun. It's always a great time to just hop on Zoom and talk music. I love
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and I appreciate you having me, man. Thanks for doing this for myself and all the folks you have on. I've seen, you had like Shelby on, who's great, Colby, like you said, like Pecos and Dylan Wheeler. I've seen all my buddies pop up on your feed, and it's always cool. So thanks for doing this, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to get Dylan on here. They Yeah, he's one of my favorites. And I just
Have you
saw
not had him? I thought I saw a clip of maybe not, maybe somebody else. But
no, I've hung out with him a lot though. I was yeah, very lucky that Code took him out here on the East Coast. So it was really cool. I got to see him a bunch of times. And Pecos was just here, and I know where they keep the buses, but I didn't want to like go over. but
go over
I,
there and Germ.
huh?
Go Germ.
Go what?
Germ, I do not know that term. So
No.
Germ is when you are being a little too, not you, everybody would probably knows who you are, would be like, but that person that's just lingering a little too much
Oh,
backstage that somehow got there. Maybe they were like a friend of the guy, of someone running the show,
oh,
and they just will not leave the artist or the band alone. And you'll see them again the next time you're around town or close to town, and they won't leave you alone. I don't know where the term came from, but that is a GERM,
that
GER.
that's a good term to know now. If I hear that, because dude, I, I linger. I'm a lingerer. I know.
I'm sure you have better social cues than that. But of course, throwing a bunch of alcohol on the mix can kind of, I'm sure, blur the lines of anybody's social cues and make anybody into a germ.
Yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
probably been a germ at some point.
Yeah. I was 110 full on Germ at mile zero. So, hey.
That's a good fest to do it at for sure if you want to go
Yeah.
for a germ.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was giving hugs to everybody.
Nice. Hey, that's always welcome. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, bud.
Yeah. Let me fangirl. I'm sorry. Let me start off with I'm
I'm
sorry.
so sorry. That's my favorite too. When it's like a dude that's been hanging out for like an hour or just around to be like, I'm so sorry, I'm still here, but I just need to ask you another question.
Yeah. It's
Cool, man.
it's nice to be adored.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I know you're not a germ. I can already tell. You're good.
Mhm.
You're out of the germ crew.
Yeah, it was
Trust
just
me. Ask next time you're on somebody's bus or hanging out with the bands. Like, ask them their worst germ experience, and I'm sure they'll give you some pretty wild ones.
oh dude. I feel like I'm in the club now and I know this term. And I'll probably use it out of context trying to be cool.
No, no, throw it
But
around, man.
yeah. But now like when I jump out from the amp, it's like Mason. You're like, oh, yo,
Ah,
yo, Germ.
no, I'll dab you up. I'll go, what's up?
But yeah, man. Thanks for coming on here.
Dude, of course. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I really enjoy your music, and I really hope if people haven't already heard you that they check this out and they go down that rabbit hole of some whatever you want to call it, good ass music. You
Good
know?
ass music. I'll take that. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I hope they do. And yeah, thank you again for doing this, dude.
Yeah,
Really
man.
appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, you're like 99% uploaded, so
Oh, sweet.
yeah, we're
Do
good
you
to
have to
go.
hang out until that's done?
No, it'll say uploaded once I stop it, but hell yeah,
Oh, okay.
we can just end it right here.
Sweet.
So all
Sounds
right,
good, man.
all
Well,
right,
hey, great talking to you, bro.
hell yeah, thanks, Mason.
Definitely. Shoot me a message anytime. Thanks, man.
Yep, I will. Thank you. You as well.
Catch you later. Peace.